This is the third screenshot video for Genuineness of Assent, and I apologize for the abrupt ending of the second screenshot video. I wasn't paying attention to the time, and the program I use has 15-minute segments. In any event, I was at the beginning of a story about undue influence, and how typically it comes about when the dominant player in a confidential or fiduciary relationship has exploited the dominance by procuring an unfair contract. And if that claim is made, then the person who held the power, for example, the attorney in the attorney-client relationship, has to establish the fairness. In the story I was telling, it's a true one, was when the attorney told his older widowed client that she basically had no choice but to sell her house to him, which she did. And when her relatives found out about the transaction, they challenged it, or actually had her challenge it, got a lawyer for her. And the attorney, who I might add was also in hot water at this point with the disciplinary authorities, had to establish, but he wasn't able to, that it was a fair contract. And the reason he wasn't able to was because, I forgot the numbers involved, but it was $20,000 to $30,000 lower than any assessment of fair market value would have been. And when I say $20,000 or $30,000 less, we were talking about a property that was probably on the market would have fetched $50,000, and the lawyer bought it for like $20,000. So he had to give back the property, and also, I might add, suffer some serious consequences for his unethical conduct as an attorney. So now we're going to the last topic I have up on the screen here: adhesion contracts and unconscionability. Adhesion contract, as I note, is simply a descriptive term, and it's going to refer to a contract where the parties have substantially unequal bargaining power. And as I point out, if we have a contract of adhesion, it doesn't necessarily mean the contract can be rescinded, because sometimes it's really what the market is going to bring about. Let me see if I can just give you a quick example of a contract of adhesion. I know at one point I needed to rent an apartment, and I had really limited parameters on what I wanted, because I had some kids who stayed with me a lot, so I needed an apartment big enough to accommodate the kids. I wanted it in only certain neighborhoods. I wanted off-street parking. I wanted it so that I could put a washer and dryer hookup in it. And as you might imagine, there were only a limited number of properties that really met my criteria. So when I found one, here's what happens. The landlord wasn't, because he didn't need to, in a position to negotiate with me, or better said, I wasn't in a position to negotiate with the landlord, because the supply of what I was looking for in the areas I was looking for it was limited. And basically, I had a choice: either accept the landlord's terms or not enter into the contract of lease. And what we could say is the landlord had the ability to stick the terms to me, thus the phrase contract of adhesion. And that type of contract, as I'm trying to emphasize, really reflects often simply the condition of the market one is in. I might add that a few years later, my law partner and I wanted to move out into the suburbs because we needed more parking for clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what we found, to our delight, was that at the time we were looking, there was an abundance of vacant office space. So not that we necessarily had the power to dictate the terms, but it was a far different experience than the apartment rental I just mentioned, and we actually got all kinds of concessions in terms of the amount of rent, the workout we got for the office space, meaning we wanted offices reconfigured, etc. So a contract of adhesion doesn't mean that there's a contract that's capable of rescission. However, a contract can be so one-sided as to be unconscionable, or as I try to put here, totally off anyone's moral compass. And the thought is that a court will not enforce a contract that might be one-sided. I have put up a New York case that you can look at to get a sense of that. And I just want to emphasize, rarely are you going to be able to use unconscionability as a way to void a contract. To repeat myself one more time, because oftentimes it's simply the markets we're in that give one party much greater bargaining power than the other. But at points the boundary is crossed and we do have an unconscionable contract, and I'll refer you to the New York case I have posted. This is going to be then a short screenshot video. Let me just point out one other thing. I have put all of the material on genuineness of assent under weeks 5 to 6. So you're not going to see anything posted under weeks 7 to 8. That just is a way to point out that we're using that number of weeks, weeks 5 to 8, basically to get through our material on genuineness of assent. So I'll stop this screenshot video at this point.